What's good, YouTube? This is Stormy B-Man, and I'm back with my final thoughts on CHARLO versus MONTIEL, which took place this past Saturday, June 19th, Juneteenth holiday on Showtime. Before we get started, I'd like to say shout out to the LDBC, the Lions Den boxing community, and Liberated Perspective, a third eye view of the world. For more content such as this, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Boy, oh boy, did this turn out to be something of a special treat. The fight that took place between CHARLO and MONTEL this past Saturday turned out to be a little bit more of an actioner than people might thought it would be from both parties. This was considered a showcase fight for Jamal, but it turned into a test of will for Jamal because the opponent of the evening decided not to wither and give in to the hometown hero. Juan Macias Montiel decided to really give it a go, and though in the talent department, boxing department, championship caliber department, he came up short on each and every end. But the one thing he was able to do was provide a spirited challenge for the champion, even in his hometown, even in defiance of the power that CHARLO was able to put on display early on, and being enough of an agitist that he would not try to lay down but compete at the highest level possible. What MONTEL was able to put on display was spirit. If he showed nothing else, he showed a fighter's disposition in there. Early on, Jamal thought he would overpower MONTEL by sticking him with solid, pulverizing jabs, and every time he threw a right hand, he had the intent of death on the right hands. MONTEL, who seemingly knew that this would be the case, came in, tried to play defense, and still be in there for the fight, as Maul's, you could kind of call it intimidating tactics, were on display, but it didn't seem to work. MONTEL came on this night to compete. He defiantly took the champion's punches. MONTEL, who is very unorthodox, came into this bout with the intent of going the distance. He may not have had the ability to win the fight, but he definitely had the spirit and the courage and resolve to stay within the bout. He was hurt by CHARLO several times in this fight, but refused to submit. That showed a dogged determination that you don't see amongst a lot of guys who are brought in as opponents in this present day of boxing. And I also like the fact that as he faced CHARLO and CHARLO began to tire, he was able to follow his corner's instructions, where they had advised him to start pressing the fight and taking it to CHARLO and putting pressure. This led to MONTEL being able to score certain shots, and you could see the heavy-handedness that he brought to the fight as the wear and tear began to show on CHARLO's face. In the meantime, I was a very bit disappointed in Ronnie Shields' instructions. Shields' instructions toward CHARLO's offensive output really stood for primarily using the jab and opening up with some combinations, but nothing specific, which would have led to more success had he gone and launched a body attack. MONTEL wasn't as strong in the body as you would expect him to be, being a middleweight. He was actually rather thin in the body and very little muscularity. So he could have done some things physically where he channeled his power with better punch placement. I understand that he even exited the fight with a hand injury, which again, you can actually hurt your hand when you're not applying your punches in the proper manner or placing them properly. CHARLO, who came into this fight 31-0 with 22 knockouts, he didn't seem prepared to go long in a rugged fight. And Juan Macias Montiel came in with the record in 22-4 with 22 knockouts himself. And his biggest win was probably over the faded James Kirkland from December of 2020. And though I mentioned that Kirkland was faded, what you have to understand is a fighter like Montiel always can find a reason to stay in the thick of a battle. This is a testament to who he is and his character. Too bad he hasn't been taught and practiced in having better boxing ability, because that would have allowed him to have victory in this match. For instance, had he just had the practice of a jab in this fight, it would have put him in a far better standing against CHARLO. As CHARLO faded, he found himself more susceptible to Montiel's punches, particularly uppercuts and right hands. You could see the damage on CHARLO's face as the rounds mounted, and I was wondering whether Ronnie Shields was going to find a manner of telling him how to stay safe and at the same time remain offensive in the fight. That never came, and it's quite disconcerting because Ronnie Shields is typically a very good trainer and has the reputation of working a corner very well. Was CHARLO a little unfocused? It's possible. The whole issue of missing weight initially by a quarter of a pound or something like that, whatever it was, 1/4 or whatever a pound, it may be a little bit of insight into him maybe not taking his opponent as serious, and maybe a little bit lack of focus. Plus the inactivity, not being in the ring on a more frequent basis, may be catching up to the now 31-year-old champion. You know, as you're on the other side of 30, what will happen is your body just doesn't respond like it did when you were 26, 28 years old. He's gonna learn this. This is a reality. And I'll tell you, the Hitman, who was actually an inch shorter at 6 feet and had an inch shorter reach in 73, he proved that he may need to work on his craft a little more. His previous victory, a September unanimous decision over Sergey Derevyanchenko, proved to be a grueling match as well. So Maul may want to fight a little more frequently. He may want to try to get in there and be more active. You can take on top opposition, but in the meantime, in between time, have some softer opposition just to stay active and busy. That's how you do it. Don't consider yourself feasting on, sub-quality opponents, because then you lose your edge. But all in all, he pulled out this victory. It's always tough when you're fighting at home because the challengers usually get up for that and they want to pull an upset. The fight on the horizon for him may be against Canelo Alvarez or Demetrius Andrade, which before he may have had an edge going in, but off of this performance, both adversaries may find themselves a little bit more interested in signing that contract. He's starting to look a little bit vulnerable, and he's getting older. Let's face it, Father Time is undefeated. Leave some comments. Let Stormy B-Man know what you thought of this fight, and what do you think should be next for Jamal, the Hitman, CHARLO. That's all I have for you at this time. Until the next time we speak, peace, everyone, remain safe, and let's look forward to some more stellar bouts.